Julia is a Black revolutionary socialist, Trotskyist from Inglewood, California. She's an active rank and file member of SEIU, Local 721, and specifically works with those with mental health disabilities. She's also active in the fight to disaffiliate the police from her union with the campaign of SEIU Drop the Cops. She has been involved in tenant rights organizing in Inglewood, fighting for immigrant rights and Black and Brown unity. She was a part of a campaign to shut down religious anti-abortion fake clinics in LA. She served on the South Central Neighborhood Council and was recently part of an international virtual tour discussing the BLM movement with over 11 different countries. Crazy. She believes the fight for all oppressed people is to be won by those people through class struggle. With whatever project she works on, the goal is to further the struggle for international proletarian revolution. And I'm so ready to hear this, man. What a great background, and I'm sure that comes with a great perspective. So it's all yours, Julia.
Hey, what's up, comrades? I'm so glad to be here with our illustrious presenters and moderator. I can't wait to also hear people's thoughts and ideas for what we talk about here. So I'm gonna do my best to not repeat what some folks said and to talk about, some of the other issues that are happening. So as comrades have talked about, racism, capitalism, the police, and nonprofits are intertwined. We have a system, capitalism, that is based on the exploitation of working people, the super exploitation of Black people and Indigenous people, and convincing white and other men and other privileged groups to think that it is in their interest to defend this system rather than aligning with their working class comrades. And this is how capitalism, which is a small minority of the world population, is able to amass trillions of dollars. This is how the Democrat and Republican parties, which are going against what the majority of the population is wanting, which is basic health care and education, having homes and food and jobs, and not bombing other countries. This is how they're able to maintain themselves. And every 4 years, the Democratic Party, which perpetuates the same kind of white supremacist politics as the Republican Party, mobilizes their groups to say, we have to be careful of the whatever doom and gloom that they're afraid of, just to turn around and do the same processes that the other Republican parties were doing. Biden didn't waste any time in saying that he would not support a $15 minimum wage, that he would not give $2,000 for a stimulus check, that he would bomb Syria, and that he would not support Medicare for all. I mean, these are the basic things that he supposedly claimed, and frankly, Bernie Sanders helped to provide a left cover for, that all these people are walking back on. And how were they able to do that in the midst of a global pandemic? In the midst of an uprising that we hadn't seen in so long, and not just an uprising in the US, and an uprising around the world. They used the union bureaucracy and they used the community bureaucracy in that the leadership of Black Lives Matter to be able to corral people back into those polls and out of the streets. And the $90 million is a lot of money. And frankly, it's disgusting that they would sit on that hill of money while Black people are dying in disparate numbers from COVID-19. If they were doing community projects, nobody knows about it. Nobody's saying anything about it. So that's really despicable. But if we think about what the capitalists are doing, these people really are the gatekeepers to convince us to support this system that continually oppresses us. And in the Biden administration, their perspective of stability, of maintaining order, basically is that we allow ourselves to be oppressed in silence. That's the plan. That's what stability means under capitalism, that they can bomb people, evict people, lay people off, and then there's no fight back. Because, hey, we follow these other leaders who aren't really trying to fight back. But no, the police won't stop killing us, so we won't stop fighting. Capitalism won't stop exploiting us, so we can't stop fighting. They can't buy us all off because they can't afford it. There's not to buy us all off would mean an end to capitalism. There's no way they can do it. They're not gonna do it. So they try to buy off our leaders. That is not possible. And that's what Tristan was saying about independence and political independence, of us controlling our own movements, controlling the money and who's giving the money. Recently, Black Lives Matter Los Angeles has announced a campaign to attack the police unions. Now, let's be clear. No cops in our unions. SEIU dropped the cops. We are down to attack the police unions, and we have been doing so. Why? Because the police are not workers. They are strike breakers. They are scabs. They are evictors. They are oppressors. They're not part of our class. Here's an example. Rayshard Brooks, who was murdered in Atlanta, was killed by a cop who was a member of an SEIU. How are you going to say that you're for Black Lives Matter and then you're collecting money and defending people who are oppressing us? That's not acceptable. So the police are not workers. They're not our friends. Well, as Black Lives Matter Los Angeles is claiming to attack police unions, their leader, Melina Abdullah, endorsed Herb Wesson, who received $171,000 from police unions, according to The Guardian. And folks, Google is your friend. You just go ahead and look that up. I didn't make it up. It's very easy to find. And so that they have to account for that, amongst many other things. Folks have to account for taking money from Amazon, who is in the middle of attempting to break a strike of majority Black workers in Bessemer, Alabama. Now, if folks have heard of the amazing book by Robin G. Kelley, Hammer and Hoe, Alabama has had a history of socialist and communist and trade union struggle. And Bessemer, Alabama is now in a fight against one of the wealthiest people in the history of the world, and that's Amazon, Jeff Bezos. So they're standing up to them. And part of the reason why they're standing up to them is because of the Black Lives Matter struggle. Class struggle is inextricably linked to this social movement that happened. Folks, we inspired people to make them feel brave to fight. We made people look up to that. And I'll give you another example internationally. We have comrades in Bolivia, and our comrades in Bolivia told us after the coup had lost, that the United States imperialist government supported, they said that the coup lost because, one, they were inspired by folks being in the streets and standing up to US imperialism. And two, because US imperialism was stalled from fighting around the world because we were fighting them in the United States. We can't forget that we live in the belly of the beast, the imperialist superpower of the world, one who overthrows governments and murders people, bombs people, etc. And so that we were able, through our uprising and collective struggle, to intimidate and stall US imperialism shows that we could do so much more when we're consciously trying to do that. We need to be consciously fighting US imperialism, consciously fighting it by organizing together. And so I want to encourage folks to write for Left Voice and join Left Voice. Why is that? Because our perspective, and many others share this as well, so we didn't invent this, but our perspective, Trotskyism, is that we want to organize with the working class of the world. We don't just want to organize with progressive governments. We want the working class to be completely independent of capitalism and imperialism. We want to abolish the police. And the Black Lives Matter movement that many of us participated in and joined in and were so inspired by, those views of abolishing the police are not dead, and our work is not done. It only means that the things that have happened reveal that we can have a movement that is even more combative and even more successful if we learn from these lessons. That we cannot affiliate with the Democratic Party, the party of imperialism and war and oppression. That we can organize ourselves independently through assemblies in our workplaces, such as SEIU Drop the Cops, SEIU called for a strike for Black lives. Now, most of those things were protests and it wasn't really a strike for Black lives. But what if it really was? What if every time the police murdered us, we refused to work? What if we said, as an organized body, that we were not going to do anything until we put those pigs in jail and we fought back? What if we did that? What if we organize ourselves, not just in the streets, which we need to do, but also organize ourselves as working class people and oppressed people? We are the working class. We are Black people and we're the working class. We're oppressed people, we're multi-racial, and we are the working class. We're the ones that run society. So I say this to say that I am very inspired to see all of you all here, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of us and each other organizing together in the streets for an even more combative, anti-capitalist, socialist, and revolutionary perspective. And I just can't wait to hear what y'all have to say, your ideas and perspectives. Hey, this stuff that they said, this is an open secret. Most of us knew this stuff with shiesty dealings was going on. Now we have to decide how we're going to move forward. So thank you so much for coming, and I look forward to hearing what folks have to say.